We keep hearing about how the ethanol in E15 fuels is going to burn up the engines in our old cars, but that's really not the case. So here's the real issue: how to fix it and keep your classic running strong on modern fuels. The truth is, there's a couple of things going on here. Now, the first problem is that it isn't running magically hotter because of the flame temperature with ethanol. It's running hotter because it's running lean. Regular pump gas has a stoichiometric ratio of 14.7 to 1. E15 has a stoichiometric ratio of 13.8 to 1. That difference is running it lean. And if we've got our carburetor set up for running regular non-ethanol fuels, we're truthfully running them a little bit too lean. And that lean running raises the temperature inside the combustion chamber, and suddenly our engines are fighting for their lives, especially if the cooling system isn't up to the task. But truthfully, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's some chemistry things that are going on in here also. We've also heard that ethanol fuels are going to eat all the rubber in our fuel system and carburetors, but here's a little bit of truth. If our carburetors have been rebuilt at any point in the last, 30 years or so, things like Viton seals and stuff that was a little bit more resistant was being used in a lot of rebuild kits, and that also goes with components in the fuel system. The use of butyl rubber and all those old style rubbers that truly were impacted by ethanol really haven't been used much in the last 30 years there again. So odds are you're probably already in a little bit better shape than you thought. Now, that doesn't mean they're ethanol proof, but it does mean they're probably plenty good for normal operation. And the real danger isn't the fuel flowing through the system, it's the fuel sitting in the system. Ethanol fuels are hygroscopic. That means they absorb water. And when they absorb about 0.5 to 0.7% of the total volume of fuel, that's gas and ethanol, that's when things start to cause problems. The water and ethanol chemically bind, and when they try to absorb more moisture than that percentage, it falls to the bottom of the tank, and that's really where the problem is. That now phase-separated puddle of ethanol water, when it hits the bottom of the tank, that's where the corrosion really begins. And that phase-separated puddle of junk, that's what eats everything. Steel, aluminum. It causes all that green fluffy crap and white fluffy crap in all the fuel systems and carburetors that you pull apart. That is the real issue. Okay, how do you fix it? Well, the best answer is you prevent it, simply by driving your cars. That's the best way to prevent that crap from happening. And let's just say that you suspect that it's happened. Your car's been sitting there for some time. Drain the tank. Drain the tank until you get to the good stuff and get it out of there. Because if you get it out of there, it can't cause problems. Now, the ethanol causes another problem that we need to address. Ethanol, it's an alcohol. It basically acts as a solvent, and especially in old cars where fuel systems have been sitting or running for a lot of years, that alcohol, that solvent, can dissolve and break loose some of the junk that's been sitting in corners for ever. And if that stuff gets into the carburetor and starts to clog up, passages and stuff, that kind of means now everything's running leaner than it was before. Man, we've said this once before, haven't we? So all that junk can also get into there like the needle and seat and cause the needle and seat to be stuck in the open position and pour fuel out the vent. Where you were running lean, let's face it, that's no longer an issue. It's getting all the fuel it needs and then some because it's just pouring out of the vent. That's the wrong way to fix that lean problem. Let's be honest there. So the easy fix to ensure that you're not clogging up all those small passages, emulsion tubes, idle circuits, all those things, is be diligent about using a good fuel filter near the carburetor. If you've got a fuel filter at the carburetor, make sure you take a look at that, cut it open, and inspect it regularly and replace it with good quality ones. And there's also no harm in running an extra filter or two in line. That helps prevent stuff from getting into your carburetor. Now, a lot of the race car guys already have this figured out. We're running 40 to 100 micron filters at the back by the tank, 10 micron filters up here by the carburetor. Do the same kind of thing. Don't be afraid to over-filter your fuel, in a sense. Put some good filtration on it, and you won't have any problems. Just do me a favor, okay? Don't use those glass filters that have that crazy little white nylon coarse mesh thing. They don't do anything, and they can cause problems like, your car going up in flames if something knocks them and they get broken. Now, another thing to keep in mind is vapor lock issues. Now, I want to be clear. When you mix ethanol and gasoline, it begins to have a lower boiling point than a pure ethanol by itself. A lot of people tend to get hung up on that, like ethanol doesn't have a lower boiling point than gasoline. Well, the answer is it forms an azeotrope. And you can go look up the science behind that. There's a lot going on there. But suffice to say that the fuel in your fuel bowls starts to boil off at a lower temperature than regular, real gasoline. And let's face it, cars are hot. That fuel picks up temperature everywhere everywhere you can think. From along the frame rail, running past the exhaust, up and over, to sitting here on top of a warm engine. You need to make sure that the carburetor is staying cool. One of the things I usually do is put a big, thick insulating gasket under the carburetor to help keep everything isolated. You also want to get this thing breathing as cool and fresh air as possible. Usually I've got my Cowell air pan on here. And it's pulling cooler air from the back of the window. The other thing you can do is I've taken a lot of heat for this, but I tend to run my stuff probably cooler than most because it's a risk I'm willing to take. But getting your thermostat down there, I know everyone likes to say that, oh, over 200 degrees is where they achieve operational happiness there. Well, how operationally happy is it if it's got drivability issues? Let's be honest. So I typically run no hotter than a 180 thermostat. And I also have a very big cooling system that's able to shed that heat. So making sure that my cooling system acts with my engine as a whole to be able to cool this thing down is important. Many others are quick to point out that you can just install an electric fuel pump and avoid some of that vapor lock issue. Yes, some people don't want to run an electric fuel pump, and that's totally okay. See, pumps can't pump vapor. They pump liquid, not weird liquidy air crap. And if you do want to run an electric fuel pump, consider running a return system that cycles fuel constantly through the entire fuel system and helps keep things generally cooler. So now, how do we correct the lean condition in our carburetors? Well, that's a silly question. If you're a two-lane blacktop fan, it's time to change the jets. Now, whether you're getting E10 or getting slipped E15, the answer is you're looking for somewhere between 2 to 7%, figure about maybe 5% richer than what you've normally got. So, on a Holley carburetor, time to break out your tuning supplies and probably bring the primary jet size up. One jet size would be a good place to start. You're also going to find that you probably need to richen up the idle circuits. That'll help the idle quality, that'll help at the tip in, that'll also help at low speed driving. It'll be much more happy to do what it's supposed to do. And now I can hear the Q-Jet guys going, but I can't do that so easy. What do I do? And if you don't want to take the air horn off, a lot of Q-Jets, especially from the mid-70s on, had a little plug right there. And if you don't know what that is, you undo that and it gives you access to the primary metering rod height. Now, the primary metering rods on Q-Jets are tapered, so that way as the piston moves up and down on the bore, it's responding to vacuum signal. And when you're at lean cruise, vacuum's high, it pulls them down. But if you raise the lowest possible setting that the metering rods get to, you're essentially richening up the mixture just a little bit. And if you raise that minimum height of the metering rods, half to a full turn, that's probably going to be plenty to be able to overcome the need for a slightly richer mixture without tearing the whole carburetor down. Now, if you want to tear it down and go up to a jet size, by all means, go for it. I will not stop you because Q-Jets are a heck of a lot of fun. But deep down, I'm a Q-Jet junkie, so go figure. Someone's going to say, Eric, you're leaving out the Edelbrocks. Yes, I am, because I don't have one to hold in my hands, but a lot of the same rules apply. You've got easily accessible primary metering rods. You can get in there, and you can swap to a smaller diameter, narrower metering rod, and richen up the mixture just a little bit. All the while, keep in mind, idle circuits and various other things still need to be in good working order. And check your ignition systems, because I chase more drivability issues that come from the ignition side than anywhere else in the car. Make sure that the ignition is working correctly. I cannot emphasize that enough. Make sure your ignition is working correctly. Everything advances correctly. That gives you a good basis for the rest of the tuning. So just because the fuel at the pump is changing doesn't mean our cars are obsolete. We just have to apply a little bit of mechanical honesty to the situation. Check your fuel mixture, get your cooling system working like it's supposed to, isolate the carburetor, and for crying out loud, drive them! That's the best thing you can do. And check out this video next to make sure that while you're in here working on your cars, you're not making these dumb tune-up mistakes.